Okay. We're starting from the bottom of Kuf Yud Amud Beis, about 5 lines from the bottom, where it says Liyarkaina. So we had before in the Gemara, when you get a person that's suffering from Yarkaina, which is jaundice. And the Gemara gave before a potion that a person could drink to heal himself. So the Gemara quotes it again. Liyarkaina. What does a person drink to heal himself? Train. 2 of the ingredients that we mentioned before. If you remember, we had before, I think it was Alexandrian beer and alum. And what was the third one? Saffron, right? So if you take 2 of those ingredients, b'shichra, and you mix it with beer, and you drink this, it'll heal you. But umeker, what happens is the person will become sterile. But the Gemara said that on Shabbos he can't drink this, because on Shabbos this is a refuah. But every day of the week it's mashma that it's not a problem, that you can. This is a drink that you can drink to heal yourself. Frag the Gemara, umi shari, is this allowed even any day of the week? Not only Shabbos, but any day of the week, is this allowed? Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, from where do we know that a person may not be misaris himself? A person may not, what's the word in English? Castrate himself. So that the pasuk says, Talmud loima over artzachem loisasu. In your land, you shouldn't do this. So when the pasuk says uba artzachem, so even though the pasuk there is not it's talking about the behemoths, but the chem, the chaf mem, goes on the person. Loisasu bachem. Ba'artzachem loisasu bachem loisasu. The chaf and the mem, you darshan that it goes on a person, that a person is not allowed to not allowed to be misaris himself. So how could a person drink this potion to heal himself if it causes a person to become sterile? Divrei Rab Chanina. So that's the Gemara's question here. And for the Gemara, Hanimili, when is it not allowed? Heiche de ka mechaven. When the person is intending to do directly to the organs, the reproductive organs, he does something directly to cut them, to do something that he won't be able to have children. But hacha, over here, he's drinking this potion just to heal himself from jaundice, and the result that happens that he becomes sterile is that's not something that happens on its own. That's not something that he was doing, bichlal. It's a side effect, exactly. So that's not included in the Isser. Me'atzmehu. The Omer Rabbi Yechanan, the Gemara brings a raya to this. Rabbi Yechanan said, if you want to cause a rooster to be sterile, not to be able to give birth, to lay eggs, yitul karbaltoi. So you remove the crown of the rooster. Umistaras mi'elov. And then it'll not be able to have children. So you're not directly affecting the reproductive organs of the rooster, but you're removing its crown, and it's mistaras me'elav, and that's allowed. So you see over here that the isser of sirus only applies if you're directly touching the reproductive organs, not if you're doing something else.
This is taking a step further. The intention is to sterilize, but you're just.
We're not. The Gemara is not. Saying here, so even though the Gemara's lashon before was heiche de kamachaven, the Gemara over here is not saying that because you had no kavana, that's the reason why it's mutter. That's not the Gemara's point. Taisus speaks about that. Taisus over here says, even if you're not having kavana to make yourself sterile, but if that happens, if it's psik reisha, if it's inevitable that it's going to happen, that you drink this potion, it would be aser. And we know that Shimon holds that Eine Mechaven is mutter, but if it's a psik reisha, it would be aser. But the Gemara is saying a different point, regardless of what your intention is. The Gemara now is suggesting that the whole isser of siddhis in the first place is only if you directly are touching and tampering with the reproductive organs. If you're doing something else, you're drinking something, whatever it is, and it affects it, even if that was your kavana, and even if it's psik reisha, it doesn't matter.
The word mechaven.
So mechaven is lav dafka. You look into Lashon Rashi. Mistaras mi'elov. What does Rashi say? V'alvagav the sirus aser biyadayim. The Gemara right now is suggesting that the whole isser of sirus is only if it's done directly biyadayim. Right. Okay. Frag the Gemara, but is this true? For Rav Ashi, we brought a raya from Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan said regarding a rooster. But the Gemara says, Rav Ashi explained that differently. Ruchahu de nikitele. The rooster, when it has the crown, so it has a high spirit, and then it cohabits and it gives birth. But when you take off its crown, it won't have children, not because it can't. It still has the reproductive organs were not affected. It could still give birth, but it doesn't have that high spirit, and therefore it doesn't go b'payil to have children. But you weren't misaris it at all. That's the reason why that's mutter. But how can you compare that to what we're talking about over here? A person that's drinking a potion and it actually causes him to become a misuris. Ella answers the Gemara bisaris. Over here we were talking about a person that's already a saris. He already is sterile, and therefore for him to drink this potion is not causing that to happen, and therefore it's allowed. Frek, the Gemara, is that allowed? Even a person that's already sterile, is this allowed? Rabbi Yechanan said, and over here he speaks about two cases. One case has been again to a carbon mincha. Hakayel Maidim, everybody agrees by a carbon mincha b'mechametz achar mechametz. So by a carbon mincha, we know chol sa'er v'chol devar sh'l'saktiru meni shel Hashem. You can't bring any carbon that's made chametz. So a carbon mincha that's made with flour, with oil, whatever the ingredients are, you're not allowed to have it chametz. So what happens if one person prepared it chametz, and then the other person came and needed it chametz, the next person baked or cooked the mincha also chametz, it was already chametz. But each one is doing an aveda with this mincha, or preparing this mincha chametz. So we learn out from the Paul, he's not made, it was already chametz. Mechametz achar mechametz. One person made it chametz, he needed it, the other person is rolling it, and the third person is baking it, and each one is baking it chametz. So how do we know shehu chayiv, that each one of them is chayiv, even though it was already chametz before? Shenemar, because it says in the pasuk, it says once, lo say ofa chametz, don't bake it chametz, and it says lo sasa chametz. And it also says that you shouldn't make it say asa chametz. Why does the Torah write it twice? Say asa includes already everything. So from here we learn out that each person that's doing another part in the preparing this carbon mincha is chayiv for making it chametz. It's one thing. And then now we say there's something that's negate to what we were speaking about. The same thing is also b'mesaris achar mesaris shu chayiv, that a person that's already sterile, and then he's doing it a second time, he's mesaris even though he's already a saris, you also chayiv. Shenema, the pasuk says, Uma'uch, squeezed, this is talking about the reproductive organs, which is squeezed, or kosos, it's smashed, or nostok, it's detached, koros, it's cut. So these are the examples the Torah gives for a person that's mesaris. So the question is, imal koros chayev, if a person is chayev for cutting off completely the organ, I'll not look like kol shekain, so for detaching it and it's not completely cut off. For sure, I'll not took, it's the other way around. Again, koros, if it's koros, if a person detached it, he's chayiv for that. I'll not took, if you completely cut it off, like kol shekain for sure should be chayiv. So why does the Torah write both of these lashonos? Elalahavi noitik acha kairis. The Torah is telling you that even if a person cut, but it wasn't fully detached, and he detached the organ completely, he's still going to be chayiv. Even though when he cut it, it already caused sirus. So from here you see mesaris, acha mesaris, even someone that's already a saris, but if he does an additional action of sirus again, he's still chayiv for that. So the Gemara is saying the same thing should apply there to a person that's already a saris, and he drinks this potion that makes you a saris, the issa should apply as well. So therefore the Gemara answers, so we have to say it's a different case. The ella bezaken. Here we're talking about a person that's a zaken. He got to an age where he can't give birth anymore. So such a person, this isser of mesaris acha mesaris doesn't apply anymore. Taisus over here says, if you take a look into Taisus, he says, there's no siris acha siris, the zikno lav sirisu. The old age, it's not the pshat that he's sterile. He's old age and he can't give birth anymore. Such a person that drinks a potion that makes a person sterile, the isser doesn't apply. And that's what we were talking about. And for such a person, it's only asr on Shabbos, but during the week, it's not a isser. Even by Yadayim. Even by Zaken, it doesn't apply. The whole Isra doesn't apply. Rabbi Yechanan, fragt the Gemara, but Rabbi Yechanan said, there was a certain medication, whatever it is, that he was given, and he said that this brought him back to his youth. So you see that by a male, it's possible to bring even a man at his old age back to his youth, that he should be able to give birth. So how could you say that drinking this potion for a zaken doesn't matter because he anyways can't give birth? And for the Gemara, you're right, Elo, we're going to have to say, Be'isha. We're talking about a woman. By a woman, and the Rashi here says, so we're talking about a woman that does not have the mitzvah of Pirya V'Ribya, and therefore, the whole Isser of Sirus does not apply to a woman. So if she drinks this potion and she becomes Mesuris and she becomes an Akara, she can't give birth, it doesn't matter. Fragt the Gemara Rabbi Yechanan ben Breuke da Amar. According to Rabbi Yechanan ben Breuke that said, Al Shneim Uoimer, Vayevarach Oisam Alekim, Vayomer Lehem Pru Revu, that the Eibush is speaking to both Adam and Chava, they're both obligated in the mitzvah of Pru Revu, so the union of Sirus applies to a woman just like a man. Maya Kalamema, what are we going to say? The Gemara Beskena, we're talking here about a woman that's old, Inami Ba'akara, or a barren woman that can't give birth. And by Eskena, and by Akara, it's not possible for them to give birth at a certain age or in a certain situation. And over here, it's not like what we said before by a male. By a male, the Gemara said, Rabbi Yechanan said that even at an old age, it was possible for him to give birth, even naturally. But a woman at a certain age, it's impossible for her to give birth. A barren woman, it's impossible for her to give birth, and therefore, even according to Rabbi Yechanan ben Breuke, the Isser of Sirus does not apply.
So the Barak from my sass was totally on the mitzvah for
Yeah. As I come tais.
Right, that's why there's cases that women could take. Obviously, you don't hold like Rabbi Yechanan.
Rabbi Yechanan ben Breuke?
Yeah.
We don't pass like him, no.
Right.
Sagt the Mishnah, ha-choyshish b'shinav, someone that has a toothache. Lo yigameya ben es he should not sip vinegar to heal his teeth. Aval, because it's not something that people don't usually sip vinegar. So you're doing it, it's being done for refuah, so it's not allowed. Aval metabalu kedarka, you can dip your bread or food into vinegar and eat it that way. Vim nisrapa nisrapa. If it'll heal you, it's okay, because you're eating it like the normal way that people eat vinegar. Achayshish b'masnav, you have pain in your shoulders. Lo yasach ben yayin, masnav, yeah. Which is the loins or the hips, yeah. So a person should not smear yayin, v'chaymitz, wine, or vinegar, because that's also not something that people usually do. Avosach es hashemen, but oil is allowed because that's something that's usual. But v'loy shemen vered, not rose oil, which as Rashi here says, because it's something that's very expensive and it's not so common, and it's clear that he's doing it only for healing. B'nei melachim, but princes, sachan shemen vered al makisei, and they are allowed to smear themselves with this rose oil. Shekein dark and lasach b'chayil, because this is their derech. They use it even during the weekday. So therefore, for b'nei melachim it's allowed. Rab Shimon says, Kol Yisrael b'nei melachim heim. All Yidden are b'nei melachim, and therefore it's allowed for everybody. So the pshat Rashi, the pshat of the way to read this Mishnah is that he considers all Yidden to be on the level of B'nai Melachim, and therefore everybody is allowed to use this oil. But Rashi and Amid Bey says that the pshat over here is that Shimon holds that you can't say that something is mutter for one person and also for another person. If there are those individuals that for them it's usual to use it, which are the B'nai Melachim, so all Yidden, even if they're not B'nai Melachim, we treat them like B'nai Melachim and it's mutter for everybody. That's the pshat, what Rab Shimon is saying here.
The other way around, if it's someone carries on their head, B'nai Hutzah, we don't say it the other way around.
Okay.
Well, Shema, we base it off B'nai Melachim.
No. Sagt the Gemara, Rami le Rav Acha Ariche. Rav Acha, the tall Rav Acha, asked the question. The Hu Rav Acha bar Papa, le Rabavo. He asked Rabavo a question. Tanan, we learned in a Mishnah, ha-choyshish b'shinov. So it said in the Mishnah here, a person that has a toothache, lo yigameh ben es he shouldn't swallow or he shouldn't sip any of the vinegar. Lemeimre, should we say the chaymitz ma'aleh l'shenayim? That chaymitz is actually good healing for the teeth. V'aksiv, but there's a pasuk where we see the opposite. It says kechaymitz l'shenayim, like vinegar for the teeth, or ka'ashan l'shenayim, and like smoke for the eyes. And over there, the continuation of that pasuk is that it's a mashal for something negative. The pasuk in Mishle, Kain ha'atzel l'shelchav, that a lazy person for somebody that sends him and he doesn't follow the orders that he's meant to do, so it's like vinegar for the teeth. So it's an example that it's not good for the teeth. And for the Gemara, loy kashya, ha b'kiyua de peiri, the pasuk is talking about vinegar, which is really a juice that comes from unripe fruits. that's something that's not good for the teeth. And habachala, the Mishnah is talking about regular vinegar, which is good for the teeth. Or we could say hava habachala. Both of them are talking about the regular vinegar. The ikemake. Our Mishnah is talking about a person that has a toothache. He has a wound that he's trying to heal, so then it's beneficial. The lekemake. The pasuk is talking about a person that doesn't have a wound in his teeth. So then Gemara explains ikemake. If you have a wound, masi, it'll heal you. Lekemake. If you don't have a wound, merapi. So then it shrinks the gums in the mouth and it loosens the teeth. So therefore, the vinegar is not good for the teeth if you don't have a wound that you're trying to heal. It's another thing about this. The Mishnah says not to sip vinegar. But we learned in Abraise that on Shabbos you're not allowed to sip vinegar for your teeth if you're spitting it out. But you're allowed to sip the vinegar to heal your teeth if you swallow the vinegar. So in our Mishnah, it just said lo yegameya. It didn't make this distinction. Abaye answers, kitna nami masnisen. We'll have to say also the pshat in our Mishnah, megameya o pilot, that it's not allowed if you're sipping and you're spitting it out. But if you're swallowing, it's okay. Then you're doing it derech achila, you're eating it, you're swallowing it, then it's okay. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Let's read it again. Nami masnisen megameya o pilot tanan. That's what the Mishnah was saying. It's part of the answer. Rava gives a different answer. Our Mishnah, when it says that it's not allowed on Shabbos, is even talking in a case when a person did swallow the vinegar. So what's the difference between the Mishnah and the Braise? Kan lifnei tibul. The Braise is talking before the person began to eat. So now the person is beginning to eat, and he takes vinegar and he swallows the vinegar, so then it's not a problem, because this is the derech. The person is coming to eat, so it looks like it's part of his eating, that he's eating the vinegar, he's swallowing the vinegar. Kan la'achar tibul. Our Mishnah is talking about the person after he finished his meal, so he already is done eating. So if he sips vinegar and swallows it, even though he's swallowing it and he's eating it, but it doesn't look like it's part of his meal, and therefore it's clear that he's doing it for healing, it's not allowed on Shabbos. So Rava makes this distinction. It depends if it's the gzeira of Chazal. We make a distinction in the gzeira of Chazal, whether it looks like healing or not. Before eating, it doesn't look like you're doing it for healing. After eating, it does look like you do it for eating. So therefore, then it's going to be aser. Fragt the Gemara, but we should say midalifnei tibul shari, if swallowing the vinegar before he's eating, it's allowed la'achat tibul nami shari. Even after eating, the gzeira of Chazal shouldn't apply, and it should be allowed as well then. The shamin and leila Rava, because we heard from Rava, we know that Rava holds the islay hoyel. Rava holds of the concept of hoyel, sins, meaning when it comes to a gzeira of Chazal, if we see that gzeira doesn't apply in one instance, the gzeira will not apply in another instance as well. And the Gemara brings a source of this for this. Rava said, "Lekemidi de b'Shabbos shari u'b'yom kippurim aser." There's nothing that on Shabbos will be allowed, and in Yom Kippur there'll be a gzeira of Chazal that it should be aser. Hayil de b'Shabbos shari, b'Yom Kippurim nami shari. So if on Shabbos it's allowed, on Yom Kippur it's also allowed. What was the statement of Rava talking about? So Rashi over here brings the source of the statement of Rava. It's talking about going toveling in the mikveh. On Shabbos you're allowed to go into a mikveh, even though when there's a gzeira of Chazal that a person shouldn't go into the mikveh. And why not? Misaken keli. You're not allowed to tovel kelim on Shabbos. Why not allowed to tovel kelim? Because it looks like you're misaken keli. What's if a person himself goes into water on Shabbos? Chazal's gzeira doesn't apply because nira can make it. It looks like he's just trying to cool himself off. He's not going to the mikveh to be metired himself, to be able to eat truma, for example. He's only going into the mikveh to cool himself off. So therefore on Shabbos, Chacham allowed a person to go to a mikveh. Now how about a Yom Kippur? On Yom Kippur, l'chayra, that svara doesn't apply, because on Yom Kippur, a person is not allowed to cool himself off on Yom Kippur in a mikveh. If you're going into the mikveh on Yom Kippur, you're only going into the mikveh to be misaken yourself, to be tahor, to be able to eat truma. So therefore, l'chayra, on Yom Kippur, the gzeira of Chazal, that you shouldn't be allowed to go into the mikveh, should apply. Comes Rava and says that's not the way it works with gzeiras of Chazal. Once Chazal did not apply their gzeira in one instance, so it becomes mutter in another instance as well. The whole Gzeira becomes removed. If on Shabbos they allowed a person to go into a mikveh, so on Yom Kippur they also allowed a person to go into a mikveh. The same thing applies also here. The Gemara is suggesting the same thing should be over here as well. Once sipping vinegar before a meal, the Gzeira of Chazal doesn't apply, so even after a meal, the Gzeira of Chazal to sip the vinegar shouldn't apply either. And for the Gemara, we're inside over here. Yeah, we're going to have to say that Rava retracted his answer that he gave over here. Rava takat charata of this answer. Fragt the Gemara, mimai de mehach chodebei. How do we know that Rava retracted this answer? Dilme mehahi hodebei. Maybe that statement that Rava said that we apply this concept of hoyel, that once the Chazal's Gzeira doesn't apply in one instance, we don't apply it anymore at all in any instance. Maybe it's that concept that Rava had charata of. And for the Gemara, lo yisal k'taitach. No, that's not true. Because the Tanya, we learned in Abraisa, kol chayave tfilos, all people that have to be mitayr themselves, chayav to be toivel, toivelin, kedarkan, can go to the mikveh not only on Shabbos, but also bein b'Tisha B'Av and bein b'Yom Kippurim. They can go into the mikveh even on Tisha B'Av and even on Yom Kippur. So therefore we see that that's something that Rava did not have charat of. Okay, but Ma'aseh b'Payil, we don't paskin this way. Ma'aseh b'Payil, we don't go into the mikveh not on Tisha B'Av and not on Yom Kippur. Taisus over here speaks about it. Halacha l'Ma'aseh, we don't. This is not what we do. Sagt the Gemara weiter, it said in the Mishnah, Chayshish b'masnav, someone has a pain in the loins. So the Mishnah said that he's not allowed to smear himself with the expensive oil, with rose oil. And Rab Shimon said, Kol Yisrael b'nei Malachim. Rab Shimon was lenient and said anybody's allowed to smear himself with this rose oil. So Rav said, Allah Rab Shimon. We paskin like Rab Shimon's kula that you're allowed to smear yourself with this rose oil. Should we say that Rab Shimon svirelei, that Rav holds like Rab Shimon? Says Rashi here explains the Gemara. If Rav paskins like Rab Shimon regarding this kula, so it would follow that Rav paskins like Rab Shimon regarding the other kulas that Rab Shimon said b'negei to Shabbos, even though it's a different inyan. But what's the other basic kula that we have so many times in Masechta Shabbos that Rab Shimon said? Rab Shimon argues in Rab Yehuda b'negei to Shabbos. Einem miskaven. Einem miskaven. Here the Gemara brings up einem miskaven. Rab Yehuda holds einem miskaven is chayiv, and Rab Shimon holds einem miskaven is potter or mutter even. So the Gemara's question is, if he paskins like Rab Shimon over here, would it mean that he also paskins like Rab Shimon b'negei to einem miskaven? L'meimre de Rav Rab Shimon svirelei. Rav holds like Rab Shimon. V'hom Rav Shimi bar Chiya b'mishmei de Rav. He said in the name of Rav, Hai masuchraya. Then as yaisa, there is sort of a shmata, a piece of cloth that's used by a barrel that has a spout where you get the liquid out of the barrel, but you have to have a shmata to block it or to cork it properly, that the liquid shouldn't leak out. So this shmata osela duke b'yoyim tova. You're not allowed to put it there and tighten it on Yom Tov because it's like, as you see in Rashi, it says mishum schita. You squeeze, by doing that, you squeeze out the liquid from it. So what do you see over here? He doesn't paskin like Rab Shimon. According to Rab Shimon, this is a case of einem mechaven. You're not trying to squeeze out the liquid from this shmata. You're just trying to tighten it, that it should seal it. The squeezing happens automatically. So we see that he did not paskin like Rab Shimon. So over here in our Mishnah, he's paskening like Rab Shimon's kula, that you're allowed to smear yourself with this rose oil. And over here we see that he does not paskin like Rab Shimon's kula of einem mechaven b'negei to Shabbos. And for the Gemara, b'hahi afil Rab Shimon maida. In that case, it's not a raya that Rav doesn't paskin like Rab Shimon. In that case, even Rab Shimon would agree that it's allowed. That it's osir, that it's osir. So Rab Shimon is maida in a case where it's inevitable that the malacha will happen, even if you weren't mechaven, it's still osir. So there's no raya from this case. Frag the Gemara, but there's another clear thing that was said. They said in the name of Rav, halacha Rab Yehuda, that we paskin like Rab Yehuda, that einem mechaven is osir. He was machmer. But Rav Chana bar Ami Yom Shmuel, halacha Rab Shimon, that we paskin l'kola like Rab Shimon. But Rab Chia bar Oven masni law. Rab Chia bar Oven said this beloy Gavri, without other people repeating it in the name of Rav or in the name of Shmuel. It just said it directly. Rav Oma halacha kirab Yehuda, and Shmuel Oma halacha kirab Shimon. So we clearly see that Rav was mekel. That Rav was machmer and he paskened like Rabbi Yehuda and not like Rab Shimon. So why in our Mishnah is Rav being mekel and paskening like Rab Shimon? So therefore Rava gives another answer. Ani va'arisha b'chabura, I and the lion in the group, Targimna, we explained it as follows. Manu, who was the lion in the group? Rab Chia bar Oven. Rab Chia bar Oven was the lion in the group, and they said, Halacha ki Rab Shimon. Yes, true, in our Mishnah, Rav did paskin like Rab Shimon, but v'lav metaimei. It wasn't for the same reason that Rab Shimon himself said. So the Gemara explains, "My halacha ki Rab Shimon v'lav metaimei." What's the pshat that he paskin like Rab Shimon, but not because of the reason that Rab Shimon said? If you're going to say the pshat is as follows: halacha ki Rab Shimon the shari v'lav metaimei, paskins like Rab Shimon, but not for the same reason. The Rab Shimon savar. Rab Shimon's opinion is masi. Rab Shimon holds the rose oil has a healing effect. And still, Rab Shimon was mekel that anybody is allowed to use it, even all Yidden that are not b'nei Malachim, anybody is allowed to use it, even though it does have a healing effect. That was Rab Shimon's opinion. But Rav Savar, and when Rav said that you're allowed to use this rose oil, Rav's opinion was, Leimasi. The rose oil doesn't have a healing effect, that's why it's allowed. Not like Rab Shimon held that it has a healing effect, and you're allowed to use it because b'nei Malachim use it. He holds it doesn't have a healing effect. Fragt the Gemara, V'sava Rav loy masi. Could it be that Rav holds that this rose oil does not have a healing effect? V'hamid diktani, but if the Mishnah says, Minei melachim sachan al gabi makisei and shem and veret, that princes use this rose oil to heal a wound that they have, the cloud masi. So you see the mitzias is, everybody holds that this rose oil does heal you. Hello, so therefore we'll have to say as follows. Halacha ki Rab Shimon the shari v'lav metaimei, when Rav paskin like Rab Shimon. But not for the same reason that Rab Shimon himself said. Te'ilu Rab Shimon, Rab Shimon's opinion is, Sav Rab Shimon holds, Afal gav de loy shchiach, even in a place where this rose oil is very hard to come by and it's very expensive, still it's allowed for everybody. If it's mutter for the B'nai Malachim, it's mutter for everybody else, even if it's taken not the derech for people to use it there. But Rav Sava, but Rav paskins like Rab Shimon, but Rav holds, Ishchiach in, if it's a place where this rose oil is common, it's allowed. But V'loy Shchiach loy, if it's taken expensive and it's not common, then it's not allowed. Uba Asre de Rav, in the place where Rav lived, Shchiach meshche de varda. This rose oil was very common, and therefore Rav said that he paskins like Rab Shimon. He wasn't paskining like Rab Shimon that held that even in places where it's not common it's allowed. He was paskining like Rab Shimon because in his place where he lived, rose oil was very common. Hadron alach shmeine shratzim. So this ends the whole discussion b'negeya to refuas on Shabbos that we learned for the past 2 or 3 blat. Now we So the halacha is, if a person is sick enough that he has to remain in bed because of it, he's a nafal mishkov, then you're allowed to, yeah. But otherwise you're not. There are certain atayim that some poskim say, bisman hazeh, b'negei to medicines, that you could be more mekel, since bisman hazeh, the whole gzeira of shchikas amamonim is not exactly the way it was then, that people made their homemade medicines when they grinded their own things. Today it's being done by a company and you buy it prepared, so there is mokim to be made. Agam the ikik zera of Chazal still applies. There is certain kulas maybe. It's considered to be a Michael Brian. There are some people that pop a Tylenol or pop a Advil every single day just to get through the day every day. Okay, say there. Zok the Mishnah. We start a new malacha here, the malacha of kosher and the matter. Ve'elu ksharim shechayaven aleyan. These are the kinds of knots. If you make them, this is the malacha of kosher. Kesher agamolin, the kesher of camel riders. The kesher hasaponim, and the kesher of the sailors. And the Gemara will explain exactly what this kesher is. Okishem shuchayev al kishuran. These kinds of knots, just like you chayev if you make the knot, kacho chayev al ateiran. You're also chayev if you untie these knots. Rab Meir says that there's a different thing that we look at. Kol kesher shehu yachal atire ba'achas miyadav. If it's a knot that you're able to untie with one hand, then ein chayavin alav. Then you're not going to be chayiv. So Rashi says here, if you made a knot and you didn't make it a tight knot, so then you'll be chayiv. You're not going to be chayiv for it if it's not a tight knot and you're able to undo it. So the basis of what's going on over the Mishnah, let me go back to the beginning of the Mishnah, right? So the Mishnah pointed out that there's kesher gamolin and kesher saponin. As Rashi here explains, the point is, and we learned this already before, that it has to be a kesher shel kayama. Just like in the Mishkan, they used the nets to catch the chilazain, to be able to make the dye for the yiriyos, and b'chlal for whatever materials they were using to make the tcheles. So they made knots that were a kesher shel kayama, which is a kesher that a person makes, and he wants to keep it there indefinitely. When a person makes a knot and he's planning on untying it, that's not a kesher yechayev for. So a kesher of gamolin and kesher of saponin are a kesher that's made to be left there indefinitely. Then Rab Meir comes in his meikol. Rab Meir says, but even when you make a double knot, which is meant to stay there indefinitely, but if you didn't tighten it and you could easily untie it with one hand, you're still going to be for that you're going to be potter, although it's l'chayra double knot. Frag the Gemara, my kesher gamolin v'kesher saponin. What is this knot of the camel riders and the knot of the sailors? If you're going to say it's kitra, it's the knot, the kotri bizmama, that they tie to the zmama. The zmama is a ring that they placed on the nose of the animal, when then to that nose, to that ring that's attached to the nose of the animal, they tie a leash. So there's the actual ring itself that's tied onto the nose, and then to that, there's a leash. So the Gemara is saying, are we talking about this leash that's tied to the ring that's on the nose? The kitre, and now the same thing when they get to the sailors. Kitre, the kotri, be-isterida. Isterida was every boat at the edge of the boat. So they have a ring at the edge of the boat, and then to that ring, they tied a rope to be able to anchor it. Right, so which knot are we talking about? Are we talking about the knot of the rope that you tie to the ring that's on the wall of the boat? Hi, kesher she'eina shel kayamahu. In both of these instances, it's not a kesher that it's meant to stay there indefinitely. This leash is tied and untied to the ring that's on the nose of the animal, or the ring that's on the wall of the boat. Elo answers the Gemara, what are we talking about? Kitre desmame gufei or desteride gufei. This ring that's on the nose of the animal, or the ring that's on the boat, there's a knot of that ring itself to tie it to the nose of the animal, and to tie the ring on the boat, that ring itself has a knot that you tie it to leave it there indefinitely. So that's intended to remain there in its place indefinitely, and that's the kesher shel kayama. Rab Meir said, "Kol kesher chulu," that it depends. If a person it's loose enough that you could untie it with one hand, then it's not a kesher shel kayama, or then it's allowed. So the brother of Rav Achtavai, the brother of Mar Acha, he asked the following question: Aniva l'Rab Meir mahu. A bow. When you make a knot with a bow, according to Rab Meir, what would be the reason? Do I say, Taime de Rab Meir, the reason what Rab Meir says that this is allowed when it's a loose knot, because you're able to untie it even with one hand. So therefore, when you have a bow, even if you make it very tight, but you can pull it with one hand and untie it. With one hand you can untie it. The reason for Rab Meir's opinion is because it's not tight. But if it's a bow and it's tight, so even though you can easily pull it with one hand, that wasn't the point. The point is that it's not tight. Teiko. This remains a question according to the opinion of Rab Meir. So the Gemara's question essentially is, when Rab Meir said, Yochal atire ba'achas miyadav, that is the actual reason for the heter? Or that's not the reason for the heter. The main reason for the heter is the fact that it's loose. The fact that you can pull it with one hand is the indication that it's loose enough that you can do that. Right? That's the shaila. But b'payil mamish we don't paskin. I mean, the Gemara here remains taken, but we paskin that a bow is b'chlal not considered to be a kesher shel kayama. The Tanakama is saying the main thing you have to look at is whether it's a kesher shel kayama. Person that makes a bow is not making a kesher shel kayama. So therefore we paskin that it's mutter. Zok the Mishnah, yesh l'chok sharim she'ein chayavan alein. There are those knots that you're not chayav or chatos for making them on Shabbos. What are they? Kekesher agamolin, kekesher asaponin. You're not chayiv like when you make the knots of a camel rider or of the sailors on the boat, which we just described, which are knots that are there indefinitely. Kaisheres isha mafteya chaluka. A woman is allowed to tie the two sides of a garment that she's wearing. It's a certain kind of garment that they had a strap on the right that they tied to the left, and a strap on the left that they tied on the right, and they tied the garment closed. The chutei svacha, and also the straps that are used for a head covering, v'shal paskia, or it's for a girdle. V'seritzuis minol, or shoelaces, a sandal, also sandals, v'noidis yayin, v'shemen, or barrels from wine or oil, or kedeira shal basar, or something that you tied closed to cover a pot of meat. All of these cases are examples that it's not a knot that's going to be left there indefinitely at all. So therefore, this is allowed to be done on Shabbos. Eliezer ben Yaakov omer, koishin lifnei behema, u'bilvad shaloi teitzei. B'shvil shaloi teitzei. Sorry. Okay. You're allowed to tie a door closed. You're allowed to tie in front of a behemoth and in the doorway, that in order that the behemoth should not go out on Shabbos. As we'll see, the Gemara will talk about this. Okay, so the Gemara now starts with the first part of the Mishnah. What's going on over here? Frag the Gemara. Ha gufa kasha. The Mishnah seems to contradict itself. Omrit. The first statement of the Mishnah is Yesh ksharin she'en chayavan aleihem kekesher hagmal and kekesher asafonim. There are those ksharim that you're not chayiv minat Torah. You're not chayiv a carbon chatas. So what does this mean? Chiyuvu udelek. You're not chayiv minat Torah. Ha'isura ikke, but it implies that midrabanan it would still be aser. You're only not chayiv minat Torah, but it's still aser. But v'hadet tani, immediately afterwards it says kasheres isha mafteach chaluka afil lechatchila. It says that this is allowed even lechatchila. It's totally mutter. So it should have said in the Mishnah not that it's not chayiv. It should have said in the Mishnah that it's not aser at all. Answers the Gemara, Hachika Amar. This is how you have to read the Mishnah. It's taka two separate statements. Yesh ksharin she'en chayavan alein kekesher agamalin kekesher asafonim. There are those knots that you're not going to be chayiv minat Torah, like the camel rider's knot, or the knots of the boats, the sailors. Umay niu kitre the kotri bizmame, a kitri the kotri bestrida. And those are the knots that are there in the nose ring, or in the ring on the boat, which is meant to stay there indefinitely. So those are things that are taka indefinite, and on that we say chiyuvuhu deleke ha'isura ikke. So the first statement of the Mishnah is that there are knots that you're not going to be chayiv for, but it's still going to be aser mid rabbanon. And as Rashi here explains, what kind of knots are we talking about? If you look into Rashi, you'll see mipnei shepa'amim, the top line of the Rashi, mipnei shepa'amim shemanicha sham shavua u'shvuayim. If it's a kind of knot, and chanami, it's not left there indefinitely, but it's left there for an extended period of time. You leave it there for a week or two, so in such a case, it'll be aser mid rabbanon. But then, the next case in the Mishnah, v'yesh shemutar lechatchila, and then there are the knots that are lechatchila, totally mutter, umayniu kesheres mafteche chaluka. A woman that's tying her garments closed, that's something that she opens and closes all the time, within the same day. So that's a kind of knot that's completely mutter lechatchila. So we have here in the Gemara, there's three different halachas. There's the knot that's meant to stay there indefinitely, is aser, completely chayiv minat Torah, and then you have what's there to stay for a week or two, according to Rashi. Some other Rishonim say even if it's there for a 24-hour period, it's machlekes exactly how long. Rashi's lashon here is shavua shvuayim. That's aser midrabanan, and then you have a knot that you open that day, open and close on that day. That's something that's totally mutter.